Like to have everybody's attention for a moment.
There's a stat. I don't like bringing up stats, but there's one stat about the Panthers.
In the world is James Harden better scorer than Michael Jordan?
No, he's more creative in that.
Traveling is not creative, Brandon.
He doesn't.
No matter what the score is, and they've said it themselves, whether they're up 10, down 20, whatever, they know they can turn it on whenever.
Why did you have to bring up the Cowboys in this conversation?
Lived in Texas for 2 years and just could not stand to watch Cowboys football.
All right, listen up.
Welcome to The Rundown. Here's Desmond Johnson.
And welcome back to yet another Stay Your Ass at Home edition of The Rundown. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by my regular panelists, Hot Rod Funderburk and Brandon Blakney in the house. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, another day, my man, alive and healthy, trying to keep it that way.
There's another day being quarantined, locked up. I watched the 30 for 30 on my main man last night, Big Bo Jackson. Boy, I tell you, I can watch that thing
I saw it too.
5 times. Bo
Yes.
Jackson was a bad boy. I'm here to tell you now.
I watched the last 40 minutes of it last night. It's one of my favorite 30 for 30s, and I was actually going to bring it up as a topic today in the rundown. I think we've talked about Bo before, but somewhere down the road, we'll do like Bo Jackson versus Deion Sanders, who's the best dual sports player ever,
And
something along those lines.
It's hard to believe that Bo Jackson finished his career at the age of 28.
Yeah,
I mean, dude,
what's
it
up
was
with
like
that?
I mean, literally, I think it was Mike Greenberg had the best line in that whole documentary to me, because he was like, unless you were alive to see it, because it happened in such a condensed amount of time, like we kind of romanticize it, but really it was like a 4-year stretch of it, like from about 87 to 91 when he got hurt. Where it was like this comet kind of, and he compared him to the Beatles, because the Beatles are the same way. People look at them like, oh, they were around forever. Honestly, major hit wise, they were really only the Beatles for like 4 years, 5 years before they broke up. And he was like, we were robbed of watching him fade. We didn't, most athletes, you see them kind of, they hit their peak and then they start to slowly decline, and you get to see that. With Bo, we didn't see that. Like it just ended.
Like
Bo,
Bo,
I think that's why so many people.
We saw him hit his peak.
No, I don't either. They were like, he could end up being the greatest running back of all time. He could have been a 500 home run hitter. He's still the only person to play in the Major League All-Star game and in the NFL Pro Bowl.
That's right. That's right.
So I mean, it's Bo's one of my favorite athletes of all time. Like I mean, ever. So we'll definitely talk about Bo in an upcoming episode of The Rundown. Let me get some laundry out the way first. Rundown sponsored by Blue Naples Pizza in Kernersville. They are still open regular hours. They are still doing, of course, carry out only. Great Stromboli, great wings is one of my hideout spots over on Union Cross Road behind Burger King. Right there at the I-40 interchange for Union Cross Road. So definitely go show them some love, show them some business. They've been with us for a couple of months now. Great folks. And a new sponsor, Body Patterns Fitness and Wellness in Kernersville, based out of Triad Fitness here in Kernersville. Of course, the gym is closed, but they have opened up online classes. They do boxing and some other stuff. So you can actually go now to KernersvilleFitnessTrainer.com and sign up for online classes so you're not bored sitting on your couch doing nothing but watching CNN all day. You can actually, get up and get active and work on that. One of the first things I wanted to talk about today, fellas, that I'm so excited about is the Last Dance documentary that's finally coming out on ESPN April the 19th, which will be this upcoming Sunday. Wanted to get your thoughts on that in terms of what are you anticipating with this? And I was trying to think about it because somebody posed the question to me. Is this Bulls team, the 90s Bulls, are they the greatest dynasty of all time? And by that, I mean just adding in all the factors and everything included with what you consider a dynasty. So like the Patriots of the past 20 years, or the Yankees of the 90s, or the Lakers of the 80s. Would you consider this Bulls team the greatest dynasty of all time, all factors considered? And I'll start off with you, Rod.
Well, I don't know if I would consider them the greatest dynasty of all time. They're definitely top 3 for sure. I'm a little bit biased. I always go back to my 90s Cowboys, where we had Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, the big running back, Smith sitting back there. So, I mean, that's my favorite. But like I said, I am a Cowboys fan. And when you're talking dynasties, how do you look past the Patriots? Whether you like the Patriots or you don't like the Patriots. I mean, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and the crew that they always had surrounding them. I mean, those guys won 6 Super Bowls, which, of course, the Bulls won 6 NBA championships as well. But I tell you what, I don't know. You could argue it either way. You could argue it when you're talking about Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and even earlier Tony Kukoc. A lot of guys don't know who Tony Kukoc is, but he came over from overseas, Croatia. And then you're talking about Horace Grant, John Paxton, Steve Kerr. I mean, just a heck of a team, man. So and the record that they set, they had 73 wins. Also
72.
went on the say what now?
The 72, the Warriors
72, yeah,
broke
72.
that, but I think still
wins.
people still consider that Bulls team better than that Warriors team that beat them win-wise or whatnot, since they didn't finish the job. But
yeah, and that's just it. They finished the job. And of course, Michael Jordan, good gracious, man, this guy was an assassin, literally. Like, he allowed people like Charles Barkley. You're talking about Patrick Ewing. You're talking about so many other players that played in that era were not allowed to get a championship because Michael Jordan said, "I'm not having it. This is mine. Too bad. You should have been born another decade, another century. Go talk to your mama and daddy about that." So, I mean, Jordan was an assassin. He would take you out. The championships were his once he started winning them. And when he beat that Lakers team 4-1, that time I was like, oh my goodness, these boys are serious. But I would definitely say they're top 3. If they're not number 1, I would probably have to get a little bit more data together to argue one way or the other. But like I said, a guy like myself, I'm a Cowboys man. So there may be one team above the Bulls, just one.
Now, Brandon, you have been the catalyst for many an argument on this show in terms of LeBron versus Jordan. So I'm curious in your answer to this. Would you consider the 90s Bulls one of the greatest dynasty of all time?
Without a doubt, one of the greatest. I'm not sure if I want to say the absolute greatest. There's a lot. I think the Patriots, from what I've seen, piggybacking off Rod a little bit, just their body of work, how they've kind of just had the AFC in a chokehold pretty much the last decade, has been really second to none in my opinion. Obviously came to an end, but exciting. Also, I think you got to look at Kobe's Lakers with Shaq and with Powell, but I would definitely say with Shaq matching that repeat that the Bulls did accomplish. I think that you definitely have to look at them. Those teams were very, very talented and also dominated in an era where there was a lot of competition going on in both conferences, especially the West. A lot of great players that Kobe defeated. But I'm excited to see this documentary just from a perspective of being a younger viewer and not really getting to see Jordan in his prime live. So getting to see it now kind of in relevancy is I'm actually excited, man. I think I'm gonna hopefully get that full impact while all the old heads think this dude walk on water.
Hey, I to me, this documentary is going to show you why all these old heads believe he walks on water, because there hasn't really been, to me, there really has not been a team that was this good that had so much universal love towards than the Bulls. Usually, like, when a team gets to a point where they're really good, whether it's like, Coach K and the Duke Blue Devils, or the Patriots, or even the Golden State Warriors from, the past couple with the Durant Golden State Warriors, it kind of created like a level of hatred towards that team because they were so good. I don't remember that with the Bulls at all. Like, in fact, it almost felt like they were this like rock star type of like music band, almost kind of like the Beatles, I guess you could say.
People wanted to see them win.
People wanted to see them play, yeah. And I don't think you could say that about the other spot, like Golden State before Durant. Yeah, people wanted to see them because they were fun to watch. When they got Durant, it was like, okay, this isn't fair. Like, we have to root against you because you've got too much. And the the Bulls never got that type of vitriol from the general public in terms of even after, like, when Jordan retired and came back the first full season, the 96 season, when they won 72 wins and won his fourth championship, you would think at that point that the public, okay, we kind of had enough. It's 3 in the past like 5 years or 4 in the past 6 years or whatever, let somebody else step up. That never happened. Like, in fact, it almost made us hungrier to see them do more. Like most of the conversations with those Bulls teams, I hear it's like, if Jordan hadn't retired, would they have won 8 straight instead of the Rockets winning the 2 in between? Or if Jordan hadn't retired, or if they hadn't broke up the team in 98, could they have kept winning? And I think that team could have won another 2 titles, like, easily. Like, I really do. Like, it just, I mean, looking at the way the league was, and don't forget, in 99 there was a lockout, so it was a 50-game season, and the playoffs were condensed. So in 99, you're talking about, if you still had Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, all those guys, and with a little bit of youth on the bench, and have them run through a 50-game season, they might have gone 48-2. Like, literally, like, they were one of the best defensive teams I've ever seen. They had the best player on earth in Michael Jordan. Jordan leaving for a year and a half. People forget, in 94, the best player in the NBA was Scottie Pippen. Like, when Jordan left, that year after he was gone, nobody could guard Pippen. Like, it almost like he elevated to, like, okay, Jordan's not here anymore. This is my team. The Bulls still won 50 games. They lost to the Knicks in the playoffs, but with Kukoc and Pippen elevated his game. He was the MVP of the All-Star game that year. Like, I remember, like, he grew into this beast. And then when Jordan came back, now you got 1 and 1A, and, like, they were both at the peak of their careers. Plus, Jordan, after doing the baseball thing, had kind of figured out, oh, I need my teammates. I need to not be so hard on them. I need to be more of a friend with them and like a guy. And he had missed that. And I think the second three-peat happens because he left. Like, I don't know if it would have kept going on if it was just a constant stream.
Do you guys think that Stern forced him out of the league, though? Like, were they winning too much? Is that why he went and played baseball? I've heard some theories about that.
I mean, to assume something like that happens, you would have to assume that David Stern would be willing to send his biggest moneymaker away for a period of time. And the NBA was at its peak. Like, the Olympics had just happened in 92. They literally was about to go global. So to me, it doesn't make any sense for David Stern to pull Jordan in his office and go, we want you to kind of get away for a little bit, like a year or two. Plus, I don't think Jordan's the type that would be like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll leave. I mean, I'm at the peak of my game. I'll leave for a year or so and then, see what happens. It doesn't sound like something Jordan would do. It sounds like Jordan would, like,
I
screw
think
you.
Jordan at that particular time, of course, he had just won 3 championships, and Jordan was of the mindset that he was kind of like a Bo Jackson. And he always said that baseball was his first love, although he was so great at basketball. He said that baseball was his first love. And he just felt like he could go out and play and do it and play at a high level. Of course, he didn't perform to the level that we all would have wanted him to perform to, as well as himself. But I think that was something that Jordan just had to do to know whether or not, he could do it. I think Jordan is the type of person who's, when he's 50 years old, he didn't want to be looking back saying, what if I stepped on that diamond? Could I have been like Bo Jackson? Could I have been like Deion Sanders? That was the kind of competitor Jordan was. And I think the other reason that people wanted that Bulls team to win, a lot of it surrounded Jordan's performance. Jordan wasn't a guy who was going to do load management. Jordan was going to play every single night, whether he had the flu or not. And he was going to give you 30-plus points. He was going to make some amazing move that you've never seen before. And that's what I always look for in Jordan. I'm like, okay, what's Jordan going to do tonight? What kind of move is he going to do that we have never seen? Jordan was a guy who would always have you watching like, what's next? What's next?
Yep.
Come on, Jordan. And I think people love that, man. It was like, I would be in a room with people and they'd be like, I want to see Jordan. Get a ball to Jordan. What's Jordan going to do? And I mean, that's how it was in those teams, man. I mean, he was just a man. I'm telling you. And I know, Brandon,
like,
you were like maybe 3 years old during that time. But I'm serious.
There's VHS tapes, YouTube videos. I mean, and that's the thing that pains me.
Jordan, everybody's seen the Jordan YouTube highlights, but I don't think that you get the full, your airness effect through YouTube. Because obviously I can watch him dominate a bunch of dudes, but
he was the biggest star, not just in sports, but I think during that stretch, he was the most recognizable person other than Jesus on earth. Like, I mean, it got so big. Like, LeBron has never been at that level of popularity. And no knock on LeBron, because I love LeBron James. But like Mike was different.
Got a long
like
way
Mike,
to go.
yeah, I mean, these guys wouldn't have shoe deals without Michael Jordan. Like, he was the first to have an individual shoe deal, like his own brand.
Man.
Yeah, but to do that, you got to be good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be great to back it up.
Yeah,
they're selling these shoes saying you can fly in the air if you wear these shoes, and then he got to go out and do that, and he did, like, all the time.
And then there was another factor that made Jordan get really bigger, and that was that he was such a good player. And then there was that issue of his father being killed and found along the road, and really nobody had any closure to that. So when you had a conversation, it was like, man, that's messed up what happened to Jordan's dad. You know, what is going on? So you had that sympathy for Jordan. Then he was the GOAT. I mean, just factoring in all that, people loved Michael Jordan.
It made him human. Like, it gave a story, like a trajectory to the story, because the one thing us as Americans we like to do, we like to build people up so we can tear them down. And when Jordan left, it was right after, like you said, Rod, when his father got murdered in Lumberton. And at that point, it almost felt like we didn't expect him to retire, but we kind of understood. You know what I mean? Like, it was like we just watched him win 3 straight. This is the thing that I always bring up when someone brings up the LeBron versus MJ debate. And Rod, maybe you can help me out on this. With LeBron, there's always been someone else active in the league at the same time. So you have to ask, who's the best player in the league? LeBron or Kobe, LeBron or Kevin Durant, LeBron or Steph Curry, LeBron or Kawhi Leonard. With Jordan, after about 88, 89, somewhere in there was no question who the best player in the league was. Like, the players, if you ask them, they would say, oh, that's the dude. Michael Jordan's the best player in the league. Yeah. Larry Bird called him Jesus in sneakers. Like, it got to a point where he was just the de facto best guy, and all the other good guys knew he was the best guy. And I don't remember there being conversations that is Michael Jordan better than Clyde Drexler, or is Charles Barkley the best player on the planet? It was just known. It wasn't assumed. Like, everyone just knew that it was Mike. Like, we were having best of all time conversations about Michael Jordan in the middle of these three-peats. Like, while this was going on, like, people were already calling him the GOAT, like, before he even had the championships. And then he went and got him. And for me, that's why I'm always like, okay, LeBron to me is probably top 3 all time, because I'll put Magic before LeBron, just for, like, Magic and Michael ran decades. Magic ran the 80s. Like, he was in the finals, like, what was it, like 8 times or something in the 80s or something nuts. LeBron ran pretty much the past 15 years in the NBA. And then he had that stretch where he was in the NBA finals, what, like 8 years in a row, 9 years in a row, something crazy. Same with Jordan, 6 finals, 8 years, retired in the middle of it, came back even better. Jordan 2.0, deferred more to Pippen. I'm so excited to see this documentary, because I feel like it, like, for people like Brandon, who may have only been exposed to Jordan in like YouTube cuts and kind of put together documentaries, this is just gonna pull back the curtain on why people revere Jordan so highly. Because it's like the Bo Jackson thing, like we were just talking about. If you weren't there to see it, there's no way for you to really truly understand what it was.
Right.
And this is before Twitter, before Facebook. Like, I can't even imagine this Bulls team with social media, with Dennis Rodman on it, and like Phil Jackson dropping like Indian tribal quotes on Twitter every day or something, and
him and his
Jordan betting people. I mean, like, it would have been off the chain. Like, it'd have been fun. But I think because there was no social media, it adds to the allure of that team, because we don't know a lot about them. Like, we have never got a chance to see behind the scenes with that team. It was like Sports Illustrated articles and little sound bites and stuff. So we don't, and we lived through it. And we don't really know a whole lot about the 98 Bulls. So I'm super excited about watching That's Sunday, April the 19th. It's a 10-part series. Part 1 and 2 come on Sunday, and with the way everything's going right now in sports, I think they're broadcasting on ESPN and ABC. I'm expecting 20, 30 million people to watch this thing on Sunday night because there's nothing else on. Oh, yeah, man. This thing's going to shatter ratings. And shout out to ESPN and Disney and ABC for pushing this up because they were going to run it during the NBA Finals in June and got it pushed up to April. So we got something to look forward to. So that's coming up Sunday, April the 19th. I want to shift gears a little bit to football. We got the NFL draft coming up here April the 25th. You are tuned into the rundown. I am your host, Desmond Johnson. As you can see, we got Rod Funderburk and Brandon Blakney in the house. Give me a little bit of sports while we can. We have shifted away from our regular weekly schedule because there's no sports, and I'm not going to throw shows up here for nothing, for no reason, and just give you guys content just to give it. We'll give it to you when we feel like it's relevant and when we got something that we want to speak our minds on. Sponsored by Blue Naples Pizza in Kernersville and Body Patterns Fitness and Wellness in Kernersville as well. I want to talk about the perceived top 2 quarterbacks at the top of the draft. That's Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa. Tua had a training video that went out to the teams this past week. By all accounts, he looks good, looks healthy. I've got a question regarding our Carolina Panthers, and I'll kick it off with you, Brandon. Should the Panthers select a quarterback at number 7 if one of the top quarterback prospects fall early? So at that point, you're probably talking either Tua or Justin Herbert from Oregon. They signed Teddy Bridgewater to a pretty team-friendly deal, about $20 million per over the next 3 years. But clearly, he's probably going to be a bridge type of quarterback. If Tua is sitting there at 7, because someone's going to fall. Someone always falls in these. If Tua's sitting there at 7 or Herbert's sitting there at 7, I'm seeing the Jordan Love kid. I'm seeing him getting attached at number 6.
He's really good.
It's going to leave a quarterback out. So what would you do if you're Marty Herney and David Tepper and Matt Rule from the Carolina Panthers, and you get to pick 7, it's your pick in a couple of weeks, and Tua Tagovailoa is still sitting there? What would you do? Would you draft a quarterback, or would you go after more immediate needs? Because they have no one on the defensive line right now. They need secondary help. So would you still go after what you need, or would you go after that quarterback right now?
I think that depending on who it is, you did sign Teddy Bridgewater, though. If he's in fact a bridge player, then I don't think that you have to pull the trigger on a signal caller right now. You can enter the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes next year, or whoever may emerge. I don't think there's an absolute rush. I think you can go after maybe offensive line, shore up the left tackle position, maybe get some more pass rushing. You did go first round with Brian Burns last year on the edge. Maybe, add some more pass rushing, maybe some DBs. The number 1, James Bradbury, is going to be gone playing football elsewhere. I'm not sure Tua is a generational transitional type talent. Like, I'm not sold. I think he's a really good quarterback, and if you absolutely need one, sure, take him. I think, though, if you are interested in a quarterback, I truly feel Justin Herbert's going to be the big name bust out of this group. I wish the best for the kid. I hope it pans out. I think you take a very, very, very hard look at the Love kid, Jordan Love, out of Utah State. Saw him a couple times against Wake Forest in the past couple of years. The kid is the real deal. He's big, physical, can make all the throws, can move, really emerging. I think he's a combine guy. He's a guy that's going to really have the physical tools to blow some scouts away, open some eyes. So I'd be excited to see a prospect like that. But I don't think that you necessarily have to bet the house on a quarterback in this draft right now, especially with the 7th pick, where, like you said, there are a lot of holes that they got to fill, and they've been using Band-Aids for years to fix these gashes.
Rod, more of a wider question regarding Tagovailoa and Burrow I want to send to you. If you were the GM, not of the Panthers, but any team, who would you rather have at quarterback for the next 10 years, Joe Burrow or Tua Tagovailoa?
Right now, I would have to go with Joe Burrow. I mean, to me, Joe Burrow has proved that he could play in a pro-style offense. Not saying that Tua can't play in a pro-style offense, but Joe Burrow has also played just about injury-free. Right now, teams are unable to really go in, get their doctors to lay hands on and evaluate these players who are coming out to the NFL draft. With that being said, how in the world do you know that Tua is 100% healthy? I mean, Tua can tell you anything. You know my motto about a pair of lips will say anything. What do we expect Tua to say? No, guys, I'm only 60% ready to go, and nobody has the right to lay hands on him. Heck, if I'm Tua and I'm 60% ready to go, I'm telling you I'm 100%. You want to know why? Because I feel like I can be 100% by the time it's game time or by the time this whole coronavirus mess is over with. So we really don't know. But Joe Burrow has not gotten hurt. Joe Burrow has made all the throws. And, of course, we know Joe Burrow is going to be the number one pick coming up in this year's draft. And looks like he's going to wind up with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I don't blame the Bengals. I'd grab him too. But no, I mean, Joe Burrow is my man. If I'm another GM and I'm looking for a quarterback, and those are the two that I have to pick from, and no disrespect to Tua at all, not a bit. But when it comes to football, I need someone who I know for sure is healthy, and I have yet to see Tua play a full season of football without injury.
But my question, and to address both the questions I gave to both of you guys, if I'm Marty Hurney and David Tepper and the Panthers at pick 7 and Tua's sitting there, I'm picking Tua. Like, I just am. Like, and I'll let him sit for a year behind Bridgewater, or I'll see if he can beat him out, like that Seattle situation with Russell Wilson when he got drafted, and Matt Flynn. They just signed to a similar type of free agent deal that Bridgewater got in terms of like what it was. It wasn't like huge money, but it was starter money. And then Russell Wilson comes in as a 3rd-round draft pick, no expectations really, and steals the job as a rookie and hasn't let go of it since. So if they're sitting there, if it's Tua, I'll do it.
Well, I tell you what, Des, if Tua is sitting there and I'm the Carolina Panthers, the only way that I pick Tua is if I still have Cam Newton on my roster and I haven't gotten Bridgewater. But once you've gotten Bridgewater and you made it known that he is the man and the quarterback going forward, then the only thing that I'm going to do with the Tua sitting there at number 7, if I'm the GM, I'm going to find any team that's picking number 8, 9, or 10 and see if I can put together a trade deal for them, especially if they need a quarterback.
Agreed.
I am going to continue to fill the holes that I need because Rule, he's a new quarterback, a new coach coming in, and he has to answer to David Tepper, and he's also let David Tepper know what he's going to do. And I don't think Tepper is going to be a no-nonsense guy and say, hey, you said you didn't want a quarterback, or you said you wanted Bridgewater. Why are you getting a quarterback in the draft? If I'm the Panthers and I get a quarterback, it's going to be like an old Bill Belichick move. I'm not getting a quarterback to the 5th, 6th, 7th round of the NFL draft, somebody I can then think who has potential and then can develop behind Teddy Bridgewater. But the only way that I get Tua if I'm a Panther is if I kept Cam Newton on my roster and going forward, hoping that Cam Newton performs, not sure if he is going to perform. Tua is going to put a little fire under his butt to make sure that he does perform and do what he needs to do. If not, Tua is going to be the guy who's inserted. But that's the only way I pick Tua at number 7.
Honestly, I mean,
go ahead,
I was going to say, I mean, honestly, with the seventh pick, you, like you said, Rod, you could trade down. And later rounds, I mean, you could bank on maybe a guy like Bryce Perkins, who you could, from Virginia, had a great year, familiar name around the area, who really could sit maybe behind Will Grier and, behind Teddy Bridgewater for a few years and develop. I mean, like you said, they've got Bridgewater for 3 years. You might as well see what he can do. I think with the move with Bridgewater, they're obviously interested in winning games right now.
Right.
And that says something. So I think, Bridgewater, you got to let him play it out at least a season to see what goes down.
See, I think you can still do that with Bridgewater on the roster because, A, it's only going to cost the same amount of money that it costs for Cam to be on the team this year anyway, to have him on. And I don't think it would hurt too much to have someone like that, behind Teddy Bridgewater. For sure. Now, I will say that I would think that if, say, Tua is at 7, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking of like, okay, yeah, he had some injuries at Alabama, but I'd give him pretty much a year to be the backup because Carolina doesn't really have a backup quarterback other than Will Grier right now. I'd rather have Tua than Will Grier at backup for a season. Let Bridgewater kind of help install the offense with all the playmakers they have there. But I ain't gonna lie, man. Thinking about Tua and the Panther offense with McCaffrey behind him, and Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore on the outside, that sounds like something you could play with for 10 years, like for real. Like that sounds sexier than Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. And you're not spending any more money because you were going to pay Cam $19 million anyway. You're giving Teddy $20 million. He's a younger version of Cam. He's more healthier than Cam, according to some reports right now. Although Cam's been looking great in his workouts. I think if he's sitting there, I almost think you almost have to get it, even though the Panthers have nothing on defense. Like everyone's gone, like cut pretty much everybody. So really, that's the need.
I think Jalen Hurts is better than Tua, anyways. To be honest with you.
Now that's a different conversation because, like, you know how big of a fan I've been of Jalen Hurts, but
I'm way more hype about that move than the Tua situation.
I saw two stats this morning. I saw two stats this morning on Tua that I wasn't aware of. His QBR is like 95.8. It's the highest QBR in college since they started actually doing QBR in college. And he was averaging like 10 yards in the air per throw, which was the highest in FBS also. So he throws it downfield. He's a left-handed thrower like Steve Young. It's a pretty spiral. It's one of the prettiest spirals in college football.
Definitely.
And it's a tight spiral too. It's just funny to me because at this point last year, it was tanking for Tua. You know what I mean? Like the whole conversation was about who's going to get Tua. And like we've just abandoned that altogether and gone to Joe Burrow. He had a great year, yes, but over the 2 years he was at LSU, Tua has more touchdowns than Joe Burrow does, and Tua played in 4 less games. So to me, I'm just like kind of looking at the overall picture, and I don't want to – Joe Burrow's probably going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL, but I'm very leery about crowning him after one season, like a perfect dream season at LSU, because we've seen other LSU quarterbacks come out. Jamarcus Russell, #1 overall, had a great national championship season, and that didn't turn out that well. Now, granted, some of that was where he went, and some of that was
off the field.
Demons, demons that
but
Jamarcus
you could
had.
say the same about Alabama quarterbacks. I mean, we've seen it there before too with the AJ McCarrons of the world.
So I'm leery to do it. But with Tua didn't fit the mold of any of those Alabama quarterbacks. He was like a pure pocket passer, maybe the best one. He is the best one that Saban's had at Alabama in terms of just in the pocket, throw it in a hole. Because in college football, the holes are so much wider in terms of like of being open. In the NFL, it's just these tight windows that you got to get it in, and I feel like Tua can do that better than Joe Burrow can. Now, he might surprise me, but I've never really been that high on Joe Burrow. It's just curious to me that everyone kind of abandoned the whole Tua #1 overall when he got hurt.
Well,
and by all accounts, he's healthy. So
it's what have you done for me lately? But personally, I'm hyped for Joe, man. I think he's a guy. I think he's gonna be a stud.
I like his mentality. I'm more worried about him having to perform when he doesn't have all those receivers and Thad Moss at tight end and the dude that was in the backfield with him at running back. Like, he was surrounded by talent. And the LSU offensive line may be the most massive college offensive line I've ever seen in my life. Like, I saw a picture of those dudes with their shirts off in the weight room, just kind of posing or whatever. Not good. It just too big. Too big. They're too big.
I don't know.
So he ain't gonna have any of that in Cincinnati. He's gonna have that nasty Cincinnati chili or whatever they eat up there.
We see this all the time with LSU, though. I mean, they're always loaded. They just don't ever have a quarterback that could make use of that talent. I mean, they didn't even win one with Odell and Jarvis. So
you were saying, Rod, that you would take Burrow? Did we just lose Rod? Oh, there he is. So you're saying you would take Burrow over Tua? I think we're having some issues with Rod being able to hear us here. I'm gonna add you back to the stream here, and that should probably fix the issue. Did that fix? Can you hear us now? No, I don't think he can hear us right now. It should come back in. I don't know if you're having issues with hearing us or whatnot. So I'm gonna move him from the stream for just a second, and then I'll bring Rod back on. Local signings. We wanted to talk about real quick before we got out of here. Brandon, you were saying there's some local athletes that have signed scholarships to schools around here, and I want to give you a couple of minutes to be able to run through some of the local signees here in the area.
Definitely. We'll start with basketball. We can maybe possibly do football next week. If there's time. I definitely want to hop into spring football, but just recent basketball signs. I'm excited about how a lot of these 2020 prospects are choosing their own paths, and especially locally here, Winston State has some really good guards coming in, and Samaj Till, Isaac Parsons that are already joining a loaded backcourt. These kids are coming from state championship level programs. Samaj actually had a bevy of D1 offers and chose WSSU over schools like UNC Wilmington, among others at that level. So definitely hyped to see him. He's one of the high rising guards as far as rankings. Unsigned seniors, man, can score the basketball, can lead your team when you need to, doesn't back down on defense. Isaac Parsons really, man, is the key to the ignition as far as running the offense. Add another point guard. You lose Robert Cologne, one of the all-time greats. And I think he's in the last 35 years or so, he's the only guy to be in the top 5 of all-time scoring leaders in WSSU history. So definitely excited to see those guys come in. Jaden Michael out of the Burlington school committed to Elon. Guys, he is the highest rated basketball recruit Elon has ever signed in program history. Local kid out of Burlington, was committed to Wichita State for a while, had an NC State offer, had Texas A&M, had a lot of big Power 5 offers. They sold him on the hometown kid dream. And honestly, I love the move. I think that he's a cornerstone they can build around. 6'6" wing with star potential, all league type potential in the CAA, can score it pretty much from anywhere, defend multiple positions. So a lot of people were hyped, and that was just a huge get for Coach Strange and Elon in their first year. Speaking of Wichita State, man, they came into the state. Ricky Council, the fourth, a Durham kid, as well as Jaden Seymour. They lost 2 NC kids and brought in 2 more NC kids. So it was definitely good to see that. Moving on to Moravian Prep, guys, a school that we saw play a couple times, Des, that we were familiar with. Jahari Harvey, the third option on that group, has signed with UNC Wilmington. Huge get for their first-year head coach down there. Does a lot, scores at 3 levels, defends the wing, and he really was the X factor in a lot of those games that they won this year as far as just being that third option, also stepping up when pressure was brought on against Josh Hall and on the Shack. Speaking of Josh Hall,
wait, hold on a second. I want to stop at Josh Hall. I was waiting on you to get to him because we did call a couple of Moravian Prep games for Netcast Sports earlier back in March. A couple of these showcase tourneys. Actually, I think I've called maybe 3 games of Moravian Prep this season, or this past season, I should say. Josh Hall, 6'9", I guess small forward, kind of built like Kevin Durant a little bit, frame wise. Clearly better than pretty much everyone on the court whenever he's out there. And
he's a shot maker, man. Big five.
Yeah, man. He's the real deal. And he was going to NC State, and you're telling me that he's actually declaring for the NBA draft. Please explain how he's able to declare for the NBA draft, because I wasn't even aware of this until you told me yesterday.
So he actually reclassed. He was actually originally in the class of 2019 when he was down at Oak Hill, and he reclassed a year and went back. So he got an extra year of eligibility at Moravian Prep, played 2 years there. So he was actually a year removed from his original high school date, making him old enough and eligible to enter the NBA draft. And speaking of the draft, I think he's gonna, if they do have the combine, hopefully, I think he's a kid that could really go in there and generate some buzz. He's young. We know the NBA loves the young cats. It's a young man's game. He's young, still a teenager, 6'9", raw skill set, in that mold of Brandon Ingram, Kevin Durant, arms for days, can make any shot on the floor, big time range, athletic, put it on your head, let you know about it, comes from a good family. And we want to mention, though, he did retain his eligibility, so he is testing the waters. If things don't work out, I imagine there's not like a first round grade going on.
So he can go back.
End up at NC State for a year. So, I mean, the league isn't going anywhere, but he's big time, shares a trainer, Coach Bates, trains Harry Giles as well as a bunch of other talented North Carolina guys. So he's been in the lab, and man, I think he's a kid that could really open some eyes. He's talented, and I got laughed at, man. I was telling people this was a possibility last summer, And some
You
people
did,
weren't
yeah.
taking it serious. And I was like, all right, man, we'll see. So I'm just happy for him, man. Josh is a really good, humble kid and comes from a good family.
And then, Rod, real quick here before we get out of here, a couple of moves in the ACC basketball-wise this week, some draft notes, because other than the NFL draft, it's basically just early entries into the NBA drafts, the main news going on other than like iRacing on NASCAR or whatnot. But Duke had two early exits this week. Not really much of a shock. Cassius Stanley declared earlier this week that he was leaving. And Vernon Carey Jr. declared yesterday, or not yesterday, but later on in the week, that he would be leaving as well. Kind of looking at the ones that are leaving over the past 5 years, though, we're kind of used to when Duke kids leave after 1 year, they're a top 5 pick or a first round pick. I'm not sure if Cassius Stanley is a first round pick, and Vernon Carey's kind of ranked in the 20s in terms of where he'll go. Now, granted, everyone keeps saying this is a weaker draft than what it'll be next year. So if you're going to go, now's the time to go ahead and go. I'm actually kind of surprised that Carolina's Garrison Brooks didn't declare with the season he had. But then again, next year he's going to be starting senior captain for Carolina. He's going to start, and he's probably going to be a preseason favorite for ACC Player of the Year next year. So I can kind of see why he stayed. Baycott kind of surprised me that he was staying, although I definitely felt like he needed to stay at least.
Yeah, he definitely needed to stay.
Yeah, he started out strong and then disappeared kind of halfway through the season, and he had a little freshman wall type stuff, I guess. But he definitely needs a year in the weight room. Oh man, they got Dayron Sharp coming in, 5-star kid. They got Walker Kessler coming in, 5-star kid. Brandon Huffman, the news out of Carolina this week. Brandon Huffman, the junior big man, 3-star coming in, spot minutes. He'd give you some rebounds, maybe a dunk here and there. Got hurt later on in the season, didn't really play the last third of the year. He's entering the transfer portal. And I think some Carolina fans were kind of shocked by it. But then when you see what they have coming in and who decided to stay, he wasn't going to play.
And
he
I
wasn't going to play at all.
It was kind of rude seeing like some of the comments kind of take me off. Just seeing Huff. Huff is a dope dude, first off, just seeing him around. And second, he committed at a time where the water was muddy in Carolina. A lot of players were not trying to come through. He was a hometown kid that had more offers. Like you said, as a 3-star, had other options and decided to, trust Roy Williams in a time where it wasn't sexy to go to Carolina.
And I'm sure that he doesn't, well, he said it in his exit release or whatnot, that he doesn't regret going to Carolina at all. It was the best fun of his life. But basically, he just wants to go someplace where he can get some minutes. And hey, come on to the Triad. Come to UNCG, my alma mater. They just lost their 2 post players this past season. So
they got one.
I can see Brandon Huffman in a Spartan uniform starting for the Spartan. I mean,
that'd be nice.
Yeah,
they got some talent in the front court coming back. But I really like B Huff with that 6'10", 6'11", high major experience, power 5 experience.
Gobble up some rebounds, sir, and just give me a couple of putback dunks, and we're good to go. We're gonna get out of here. We covered a lot. Like I've said, the past couple of episodes that we've done, we don't know when we'll be back. We'll be back when we have something relevant that we all decide we want to discuss. I do need to mention a couple of things due to the coronavirus. SportsClimateMonthly.com. We've changed some of the stuff on the site. I've always said that it had been a goal of mine to kind of move it more towards the way the Ringer is set up, where it's not just sports, it's pop culture, music, things of that nature. And we've started doing that implementation this weekend, where now there's some music notes on there. Dr. Dre's The Chronic's going to get released to streaming sites. Finally, it's never been on streaming sites before. It's going to be out on April the 20th on all those. That story's on sportscolormonthly.com right now.
It'll be out on 420, baby.
On 420, yeah. So that's definitely going to be fun. I'll get a chance to finally stream one of my favorite albums of all time. Other stories on there regarding Coachella. There's a story about Naughty by Nature on there right now. So definitely get that. Live with Brandon Blakney when you're starting that back up again. You already had a blend of like pop culture and music and sports and whatnot. So it'll definitely start hitting that column.
On season 1, definitely check that out. But on season 2, definitely trying to extend it. Had Rayshawn Terry on a couple weeks ago talking some in-depth stuff. But next week, looking forward to the next coming weeks, definitely trying to book more artists, I'm already posted about it, sharing your post. So definitely looking to book more local artists. Music scene's dope here, man. All genres.
And speaking of the music scene, I also need to mention too, a good friend of the program, Showdown Beats from 102 Jams, and from 85 Central. If you haven't never checked out that web series that he writes and produces, they are going into season 2. I believe it's still on their YouTube channel. They had just signed a deal with Amazon Prime, so it's on Amazon Prime right now. So Showdown doing big things. Back in the day, a lot of people probably remember I used to run an online hip hop radio station called Second Floor Basement Radio that was basically classic hip hop, independent hip hop from independent artists in the area, and newer hip hop from classic artists. So like if Jadakiss put out something or if LL Cool J put out something, we would run it there. We didn't really run a lot of Migos and stuff like that, like trap music and newer things that are out. It was really a classic station that was built for. It was up for about 8 years, but one of the shows that we had on was called Chinese Ketchup, and it was Showdown's mix show, where basically for an hour he would basically just spin a lot of classic material. And I just spoke to him earlier this week. He's going to be coming back with 12 episodes of Chinese Ketchup, classic hip hop mix show. That'll actually be available on sportscolormonthly.com as well, and all of our podcast outlets. So we're trying to do some things, we're trying to pivot because there's not a lot of sports going on. And I didn't want to just sit around doing nothing and realize, well, we've got this platform where we can do other things besides sports, and people are looking for content. So we're trying to start melting in more music and entertainment and pop culture and things like that into it too. So we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But any words in this? Any final words, guys, in this pandemic that's going on right now?
Y'all stay alive and healthy out there, and keep looking for the content we putting out, man. Appreciate all the support. Much love.
Yeah, well, we definitely want to thank everyone for listening during this time of the pandemic going on. We all know what's going on out there. If you can, people, try and protect your family. Know that your family is important to you, and use this time where you have to quarantine to get to know your family better, get to know yourself better. And guys, just be clean, be safe. If you don't have to travel, if you don't have to get out, please don't. But if you do have to go out, if you have a mask, put it on. If you have gloves, put them on. Be careful, wash your hands. Don't bring anything back to your family trying to spread this thing around. Just continue to be safe and stay prayerful out there, guys, and we'll come through. Yeah,
definitely. I echo from both of you guys. Keep your hands washed, keep them fingernails clipped, stay clean, wash them, sing happy birthday. I actually do the D-Generation X New Age Outlaws chant when I'm washing my hands. So like I'm sitting there doing like, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, D-Generation X proudly brings to you its tag team champions. And I go through that whole thing. So by the time I'm done, I've been washing my hands for like 45 seconds. But so I've been doing all that too. Like I said, we'll be bringing you more and more content. We don't have a specific date for it yet, but we do have the NFL greatest team ever bracket. Very happy about that. From what I know right now, it'll be a 64 team bracket. Every Super Bowl winner ever. Plus, we're gonna have, I think, maybe 8 to 12 at-large teams that did not win the Super Bowl that could be considered one of the greatest teams of all time. And like March Madness style, we're gonna go from 64 all the way down to 2 teams in the championship. And right now we're working on getting some local media personalities to be judges for some of these earlier rounds. People that have been on the rundown before, B-Dot, Chris Lee, Ryan Stone from IMG. And we'll have a couple of rounds of that. That's actually sponsored by Body Patterns Fitness and Wellness, as well as Blue Naples Pizza in Kernersville. That's probably late April, I would think. And then in May, you've got the East Forsyth 2019 state championship team, the 3-part Myth Becomes Legend series that's actually going to be out, I think, mid-May 2020. So we got a lot of things going on, some of it sports related, some of it not, but we'll all be trying to keep busy and giving you guys live content. Definitely subscribe to the Rundowns social media online on Facebook, the Facebook page for the Rundown, as well as the Sports Carolina Monthly channels and the YouTube channel, so you can be alerted whenever we have a new Rundown episode up on the air. So for Rod Funderburk, for Brandon Blakney, I'm Desmond Johnson. You've been listening and watching another episode of the Rundown. Peace. We'll see you guys next time.